to events, just like like a videotape. You press rewind on the videotape, but you just press the button and you're able to see the movie scroll backwards, and you can go to the point where you want and let it go, and then you can go forward, and they can they can see exactly what's there. I believe that they have the ability to actually do that. So which helps them in gathering intelligence that they need to gather for you, but they can also observe. But it's not about accountability. It's not about justice. It's not about healing. It's not about any of those things. It's about chaos. It's about, it's almost like a perversion. It's watching death and destruction happen before your eyes. But the thing that's bad about it is that if you get people with tendencies, with narcissistic tendencies, psychopathic tendencies, sociopathic tendencies, then you are in for a mixing pot of some evil individuals that will do anything. Right? And sick people kind of congregate together, like sick people find one another, and it can really lead to a lot of deviant things happening that shouldn't be happening at all. Like the crazy manipulation of an individual, like what I've been going through for the last 10 years. I know it sounds fucking crazy, sorry about my language, but this is unbelievable to me. I know it's going to be unbelievable to you, but you need to look at the situation at hand, look at the things around you, look at the people around you, and say to yourself, what direction are we going? What are we doing? Ontario has 2/3 of the world's fresh water, right here in Ontario. We also have a high north, that is going to be ice-free soon. We have industry that is going to want to get in there. It's going to be like the Wild Wild West. Right? Oil, natural gas, you name it, gold, and I'm sure many, many other resources and minerals. The only thing is it's our spawning ground. Like the North Atlantic, the Alaskan waters all around that whole area is some of the most productive ocean waters in the world. So if we mess around with that the way we have the rest of our oceans, we might just be throwing ourselves into a spin that we might not be able to recover from. But we may not be able to recover from the spin we're already in. And you never know whether they're telling us the exact truth or not. You've got a lot of really hardworking people out there who dedicate their lives to collecting data, to analyzing data, and they dedicate their lives to the environment and to preserving the environment and the ecosystems within our environments so that our future generations can have them to enjoy. But we've seemed to work backwards in time, and we have stripped the EPA of laws that protect our environment in order to make it easier for industry to infiltrate and to set themselves up without the proper environmental assessments and stringent regulations that we would normally expect them to have before setting up shop. And we've done that for a reason. Well, wouldn't you say? We've worked so far ahead, and we've established all of these environmental protection laws, and then all of a sudden we're regressing the clock again? What does that tell you? That's not hard to see. Now, this virus here scares us. It scares us. But what a great study in crowd manipulation. What a great study in the control of the masses. And unfortunately, everything seems to start in China. And I'm not saying that's their fault, because sometimes things are just thrown into the mix just to see. But they are one of the most populous places in the world, and they're modern, right? You don't want to throw something into the mix in a place that's a third world country that is just as populous as China, because then you can't keep track of what's going on, right? But when you throw something into the mix in a 24th century city or population, then you are able to keep track and record what's going on. You can see the progression, you can see how quick it's progressing, and then you can develop your models, and you can plan and say, well, if it hits here, it's going to spread this fast amongst our population, depending on how many people per square mile are within that grid, right? That makes all the difference. If it's a very dense area per square kilometer, and lots of people in that area, they figure out how far it spreads, how fast it spreads in amongst those people. Then they can take another chunk and say, this square, so many people, okay. They develop their models, and that's how we know the progression of what's going to happen. But it just seems like it's really, really weird timing. Because we seem to be plagued with this gangstalking, audio hallucination, mental health issues, churning up the fabric of society, people doing this, people doing that, and then you have this virus begin. Now, I've never seen downtown Toronto with no one on the streets. Not a person, not a vehicle, nothing. That's scary. It's a very scary thought. But look what it took for us to roll up the sidewalks, hide in our homes, pull down the blinds, close off the lights, and hide. Look, all it took was a virus. Now this sets the precedence for the next virus, because now the psyche of the individual says, hey, we're at this level, of awareness about this. Now every flu that comes along, we're going to be super, super scared of it. And chances are every flu that comes along, we're going to roll up the sidewalks, hide in the house, and pull the blinds. But we're also going to stay away from our cottages, because we're not even allowed to go to our cottages. We've got to stay in town, even though we have a home at the cottage that is a home. We have to stay in town in our home. We can't go to the cottage and be in our home. What's the difference? Whether we're there in our home or we're here in our home. Why do they want us not riding motorbikes potentially? Why do they not want us in town potentially? Or why do they not want us out in the bush camping and canoeing and enjoying? And where are they trying to hurt us? I wonder. Because wouldn't it suck? I mean, you're hiding in your house because you're definitely afraid of this virus. And then you wake up in the morning, you draw your blinds, and your country's a different country. You're living in a different country. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? We're all hiding, completely distracted with what's going on. Completely distracted with what is going on. We pull our blinds, we shut off our lights, and we go to sleep. But we wake up in the morning, we draw our blinds, and we're not living in Canada anymore. That's an even scarier thought. And then this technology allows them, because they're able to decipher your thought and decipher your mind, they're also able to how would you say that, intercept your transmission of your own thoughts. So it's like it makes you assume that they can read your mind, but they don't read your mind. They're just intercepting it before you can get it to your vocal, whatever, if you get it out of your mouth. Right? So you think you're the reading mind, but that's not so. They're just intercepting it midway and then blurting it out, and you're going, holy fuck, these people can read my mind. But it's not that. So it's not that way. Right? It's not that way at all. But it's scary to think that they are able to do that. Because then what happens if if something does happen where you roll up the blinds one morning and you're in a different country, but then we're all microchipped, being controlled. Not everybody is going to be selected to be part of their clique. They're going to seek out individuals that are like them to work with them. All of the rest of us may be microchipped and not even know it. Why? Because it's about control of the masses, and it's about the infiltration of information. So if we wake up in the morning and it's a different country, and we want to organize a revolution or a rebellion or anything like that, we cannot do that because they're one step ahead of us. They know that we've thought about getting together, and they're there waiting in the meeting room with the lights off even before we get there. If we need to organize weapons or ammunition, we won't be able to do any of that. And we all know in Canada that they are trying very hard to take all of our guns away from us. Right? The first crime you get charged with, it doesn't matter what it is, in court, 10 years weapon violation, 10 years, you don't have no hunting license, they take your weapons away, and they are literally stripping the civilians of their weaponry just in case. And I think there's something really big going on. Because what are we going to do when we got no weapons to fight with? We've got infiltration of the government that can read our minds literally. So we can't group together to fight back because there are 3 steps, 4 steps ahead of us all the time. What do? We become mechanized. Then you're no longer judged on just your actions, but you're judged on your thoughts as well. So you know what? And now you can't think for yourself. Now you have to line up and become a mechanical individual who, heaven forbid, you should have your own thoughts. You lose art, you lose culture, you lose music, you lose freedom of thought, speech, the freedom to assemble. You lose all of the freedoms that we have that makes this world a democratic world, a fun place, and an inspirational place to be. I don't think that's fair. I know that there's a lot of hardships coming up in the future as far as ocean level rise and climate change and those types of things, but I believe that we can do all of this together, that we don't have to fight one another, that we don't have to manipulate each other, that we don't have to intimidate each other, that we can, if we work together, in a mixing pot of all, creeds, colors, religions, sexes, and sexual orientations, and all those things that make us the colorful, beautiful people we are, then we will be okay. But if we keep on segregating each other like we do every day, there's segregation going on before our eyes and we don't even see it. Those things, are, it's not going to last for us. We need to come together as a world community to support each other, but not the way they're going about doing it. See, the way they're going about doing it is they are letting the power that be, the power that we depend on to police us, and the powers that be that help us with our, like I said, our mental health and all the things that we need as far as services go in our communities, they are creating a stage that brings the worst of the worst to the forefront. Well, do you know something? Like, it's just like during the Second World War, when Hitler marched the streets and burnt down the synagogues and marked the windows in that community, in his, that changed the public opinion that day. From that day forward, it gave the public because the authorities at that time stood up and said, we are going to persecute you, that allowed the public now to join them. And that one event changed public opinion completely.